What's up everybody, my name is Car, and today we're going back to March and we're going back to Shazam. Directed by David Sandberg, this takes place in the DCEU in present-day Philadelphia, where we follow orphaned 14-year-old boy Billy Batson, who runs away from his foster homes in the search for finding his mother. After joining a new foster home, Billy ends up winding himself into some trouble and ends up getting transported to a spiritual mystical place where he inherits the godlike powers of Shazam. But Billy must learn how to quickly use his powers because with every hero there is a villain not far behind. Billy Batson, played by Asher Angel, is a character that you sympathise with due to his situation. Billy rejects the idea of having a family and would rather be alone. When Billy gains his Shazam powers, he must learn about responsibility, but instead he abuses his powers and uses them for fame and money. Fortunately, Billy learns to use these powers properly by the end of the film, and he accepts this brand new family. Shazam, played by Zachary Levi, is hilarious in his depiction of Shazam. Zach has to play a 14-year-old boy and he does a really good job of it. His vibe really reminds me of Deadpool in a way, like a toned down version of Deadpool, which is a compliment because if Deadpool works for Marvel, it couldn't hurt for DC to have something similar. Shazam has godlike powers as mentioned before, and this is explained by the wizard played by Digimon Onzu. These powers kind of relate to Greek mythology in a way, and the gods are talked about in the movie, but I can't really remember the gods' names and their powers associated with them, so comment below what the gods are and what their powers are. I know there was stamina, super speed, strength, courage, but I can't really remember the other ones. And these powers are shared out amongst the foster siblings, and they end up becoming a big Power Rangers team with the different coloured costumes. And on the subject of coloured costumes and the costume of Shazam, I thought it looked really ridiculous, but it works well in this situation and it is comic book accurate, so I guess it works absolutely fine for this reason. Dr. Savannah, played by Mark Strong, is a believable villain. The performance that he delivers is very stoic and monotone, which makes him very sinister. Dr. Savannah is basically the stereotypical counteract to the hero in the sense that the 7 Deadly Sins powers which he has can match that of Shazam's powers. These 7 Deadly Sins relate to jealousy, envy and greed. I've forgotten the rest of the sins, so comment below what they are, and I feel like his character is a bit underdeveloped. Why did he want Shazam's powers? Sort of, what was he going to do with them? I would have loved to have found out what his purpose was with these powers. And I guess he wasn't really much of a groundbreaking villain in comparison to Thanos, but he was better than Malekith from Thor: The Dark World, so I'd say he is average in a sense. The foster siblings, generally a really good cast, likeable characters such as Darla, Eugene and Mary. We have Freddy, who is played by Jack Dylan Grazer, who played Eddie in the It movies, but unlike in the It movies, Freddy isn't a hypochondriac, he is a superhero giant nerd who basically knows everything about superheroes and could so much so write a book about them. He also is the manager and mentor to Shazam in the sense that he films the videos of Shazam learning about his powers, and also he tells Shazam / Billy what his powers are, which is quite useful for Billy to understand and learn. Familiar mentions of Eugene, who was hilarious in this film and featured in Fresh Off the Boat, playing the younger son in that, Evan. We also had Pedro, who was in the middle and played Brick's best friend Troy. These two were recognisable in this movie for me, but I felt like these two could have had more screen time and more development. It would have been more interesting to see what they could have done with this movie if they had more time in the film. Favourite sequences in Shazam, definitely the montage of when Billy was discovering his powers, and I really liked how that was fun and enjoyable, and they put that all on YouTube, which is a very contemporary thing to do. I also liked when the siblings got their Shazam powers and they were fighting the 7 Deadly Sins. It was very sort of comic book light and very sort of artsy in the way that we had like sort of Darla running around, we had Freddy flying through the air. Very entertaining and very interesting to watch. Really good visual effects in that sequence. The good points of this film, definitely the whole idea of family and how this is themed around family. The fact that it also ties in with the Thanksgiving setting, which is when this film is set. I also like the cast very much of the foster siblings. They're really good. I like the specific roles and how they suit these characters pretty perfectly. Zachary Levi is very entertaining. I like the superhero powers that are exploited in this movie. I also really like how they tie in the DC comics, the characters that we've seen in previous movies, certainly with the fact that Freddy wears different t-shirts and it has different symbols, so we get him wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt, an Aquaman t-shirt. I really like how this film is light-hearted and fun, and that could kind of be the right direction for the future DC films. The bad points of this film. The villain is very underdeveloped. I wish we found out what he was going to do with the Shazam powers. Maybe there was some backstory that could have been added in, some sort of explanation as what was significant about these powers. I also would have liked to have seen Dr. Savannah use the 7 Deadly Sins, but separately to understand what their powers were. I felt like the 7 Deadly Sins, they all looked a bit too similar, as of course they were the sort of same colour. And I wish they were more developed more, so that they were a bit more identifiable. The Shazam version of Mary. So at the end of the movie we saw the siblings get their powers, and we get to see Darla with her super speed, Pedro with his super strength, Eugene using the lightning, and then we see Freddy flying around. But we never really got to see what Mary was going to do with her power. Certainly, we were about to see her as she was getting tangled up by these tendrils, and we were about to see what she was going to do, but then we see Freddy fly through the shot, and we sort of get distracted by that. So it would have been nice to see some development and see what Mary would have done with her Shazam powers. The foster parents in this film were not very important. They could have been mentors to Billy, they could have taught him about responsibility now that he's a teenager. But they had no significance whatsoever, and I really hope they appear in the sequel and they have more screen time and more to do in the film. Billy's mother. I felt like she was a bit of an add-in in this film, and I felt like the moment between her and Billy was a bit rushed. Her character was a bit monotone and very stoic. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but I felt like there could have been a better story up with her, and maybe she could have been used for a sequel. This movie could have focused on Billy learning to love this current family, and then later on maybe deciding to find his mother and find out why she abandoned him like that. I felt like there was more to it than what she was telling him about being an unresponsible parent. Could this be what DC fans need? This film is light-hearted and different to other DCEU films that have come out, which have been very serious. With the exception of Wonder Woman, they haven't really been that good. I haven't seen Aquaman, but I haven't really heard great things about it. So could this really work for fans, and could they really like this sort of light-hearted aspect that Shazam was going for? Overall, I would give Shazam a 7.5/8 out of 10. It's a fun, light-hearted origin film following themes on family, responsibilities, and Greek mythology. I really like the cast, it's a good cast, the superhero powers are really cool to see, the visual effects are pretty decent, and I like the notable references to DC characters. However, I feel like the villain is underdeveloped, and I hope he improves with the sequel, as shown in the post-credit scene that there is more to come from Dr. Savannah. I also think that the parents need to have a bigger role in the next movie. They should be more mentory, and I feel like they need to have more screen time. Similarly, with some of the foster siblings such as Pedro and Eugene, I need some more antics from Eugene with his gaming vibe and his FBI bureau skills. So comment below what you thought of Shazam. Who were your favourite characters, your favourite scenes, and what did you think of Dr. Savannah? What do you want to see in the sequel? And do you think this light-hearted version of DC is the way and the right direction for DC to go to? Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!